Are there any public comments? Anybody online? Julia, can you just give a check? Anybody in the comments? Seeing none, we'll go to the approval of the minutes from the August 3rd Board of Trustees meeting.
Point of order. Can the parties in the audience introduce themselves? We know who's here.
Sure,
Just as a form.
if you'd like.
Sure.
Would you like to introduce yourself?
My name is Mary Lawler. I'm from the League of Women Voters of Wilmette.
Thank you.
I'm Lori Leibowitz. I'm also from the League of Women Voters and part of the Observer Corps.
Thank you.
And Julie, want to introduce yourself?
Julie Koenigsberger, Communications. and
Oh, okay.
Social
Nice to
Support
meet you.
with the
Okay, I wanted to know
Township.
who everybody was.
Perfect.
Thank you.
And welcome to all. Now we will move, we are in order for the approval of the minutes from the August 3rd, 2021 Board of Trustees meeting. Is there such a motion?
So moved. Second.
Any discussion? Third meeting? Seeing none, all those in favor of approval, please say aye. Aye. All those opposed, please unanimous. We'll turn to the September 14th Board of Trustee meeting minutes. Do I have a motion to approve the meeting minutes?
So moved.
Yes.
Sorry, I sent then Nicole a correction to our assessor's report. So I don't know whether she saw it or not.
Yes,
It's-
so
Okay, good.
I think we can say, we can ask for a motion as amended by Assessor Churchwell.
Is there a second?
I'll second it.
Okay, so what is the, for our discussion, Jan, what is the?
It was merely rewording
Okay,
a portion of it.
would you mind letting us know what it was, just so we can approve it?
Well, because I don't have it with me exactly. I
You have it
didn't read
on-
my email. You want to read it for them, Nicole?
I
Please?
can absolutely read it.
Thank you.
Just to the middle paragraph, it was just, Assessor Churchwell would like it to read. She also shared that many people's exemptions disappeared this year, despite the county assessors having said that all exemptions, including the senior freeze, would carry over automatically in 2021 without filing paperwork. She and Deputy Assessor Leonard Shipwood have spent much time this month helping residents get corrected tax bills. Residents will eventually get refunds for all exemptions to which they are entitled. That was just replacing the middle.
Replacing the portion.
So I would move for approval with that modification as stated by Jen and it's read by Nicole.
I have a couple additional edits. Give me a second to- So in the supervisor's report for where it says Representative John Carroll is switching districts, if you could do Representative Jonathan Carroll, so say that, and he's not switching districts, his district is changing.
Representative John Farrell, district is changing.
Will not include parts of New Jersey. Yep. Same district. And then for in diversifying township thinking, the last line, the board determined that the agenda item will be again added next month. Instead of next month, I would make the correction to after next set of agency allocations.
After what agency allocation?
The next set of agency allocations. Yes. Is there a motion to approve the minutes as amended?
So moved.
Second.
All those in favor, say aye.
Aye.
All those opposed? The computer closed and my face is covered. All right. This is Domestic Violence Awareness Month. We are focusing much of our communications, especially in the dispatch, regarding our agencies that focus in that area. And so with the first dispatch of the month, we focused on the YWCA. And I was able to go to the opening of their new campus, including their new domestic violence shelter, which now has capacity for 60 individuals. And it's really just extremely impressive. I mean, it's sad that we have a need for it, but if you're going to, that's the place to go. And it's, if anybody has a chance to go over there, it was just really interesting.
Is it the same place the old was?
Yeah, so if you recall, there was one
house,
building,
right,
right,
the
and there's a house, yeah, so the house is gone. And there's now a beautiful state-of-the-art building, so you know, if you're a resident, you've been screened, you get a fob, so you can go in and out safely, you know, with privacy, and not having to worry about those who you were trying not to be around getting in as well.
Cool.
And it's a separate entrance, it's great, yeah. The kids area especially was impressive, there's 2 playgrounds down there, a youth area, and there's family rooms. So sadly, you know, if you needed to bring your children with you, some of the rooms can fit up to 8. And then other rooms can join together. So a lot more conducive to family structures and personal autonomy. So very interesting.
The
And they're
pool's
all-
still there, right?
Hmm?
The pool's still there.
Pool is still there, and
Okay.
they did do some repairs on the pool. So that is still available. Yes, I should really check that out. Looks great for my kids. So the second group that we focused on was the North Suburban Legal Aid Clinic for this coming dispatch, which obviously works on domestic violence legal matters. Our in-house clinic has been very successful. We've had a lot more utilization than we had in previous years. I think from some outreach efforts that we've made, you know, putting in the courier, in the dispatch, social media. So we are able to get people seen. Right now it is still virtual. So how it works is someone theoretically you're supposed to make an appointment. Not always happens, doesn't often happen, to be honest. People come in, they see me. If there's no one in, I bring them into this room and we have them set up with a computer. I go tell which attorney I need, so immigration, housing, domestic violence, and they have a private area where they can just talk with the attorney. I do the intake, and then they're able to go from there. So that's been working well. I don't know when that will go back to being, you know, more in person, but that is available. It was also National Coming Out Day, so I did, you know, on my own social media, I was focusing on peer services, but we'll try to do something with them in dispatch as well. Then our NAMI Walks event was with Yoga 6 was on Saturday. Gorgeous weather. We only raised about $100. Many more people were interested in theory than in practice. But it was lovely. And I've had a number of people ask us to do it again, but if there isn't a strong desire, we probably won't, but it was a lovely endeavor. Let's see. So following up on our discussions about the Chambers of Commerce, I did attend the Winnetka, Glencoe, Northfield Chamber of Commerce lunch event last month. And I'm hoping to continue to be more active in those endeavors. You know, I've been trying to especially get the word out to the business community that our pantry is now open to those who work in the community. So I am, as of this afternoon, going to a Wilmette event coming next week. On the staff front, Larisha is back. We're so glad to have her. And I was very impressed with how the staff worked to really ensure that the office continued to work in her absence. She was on a family leave. It was unexpected. So that and Niles Township took our passport appointments during that period. So that was wonderful on their part. So it is good to continue those relationships with our neighboring townships. They did have another supervisors meeting with Niles and Northfield as we continue to work together. Are you going to cover the audit or no?
Well, there's, yeah, we audit, we had the audit for FY 2021, which ended on February 28th of this year. They were here on site for 2 days as opposed to 4 days on prior years. That's due to a lot of work that I had done with them. They did previous, getting the documents and all that, so they have to not be on site. They just wrapped up, actually, I was working on something today, but we will get a draft once that is available.
Don, you said the 2020 audit,
2021,
2021, so they're already.
and then, yeah, our fiscal year is always ending in February.
Oh, okay, understood.
Mhm. And we did get an extension from the comptroller's office regarding that, because that would have been due again in September.
And that's a routine thing that they do, that has been issued, and then I think it's October 26th. And that's because we can't have the report until we have the audit.
Makes sense. Julie's been onboarded. And we're glad that you can be here today, and thank you for your report today. Please take a look at your dispatch for upcoming township events, but just to focus on the ones on a few things would be, if you are interested in the Township Officials Illinois Boot Camp, please let Larisha know by the end of the month. It will be virtual again, so no need to drive to Springfield. And I was actually very impressed with how they did the last one, so sadly, Township officials of Cook County has gone in person, and it's made it much more complicated to participate. Any questions on those actions? Yes.
The annual Township of Illinois Convention is in person or not? in
No,
person?
that's the virtual in November.
Okay,
That's
okay.
November 15th through 17th.
Okay.
Yes.
Gail, do you know if recordings have been made available for the boot camp August to September?
Not offhand. Not offhand, but they were supposed to. Yeah, I'm not seeing them right now. And please check your mailboxes every once in a while. We'll try to send everything home if with your board packet if you don't, but yeah, your very important sticker for your car is in there right now, to say that you're a member of Checkup Toy. Okay. Clerks report.
So I just really have one quick thing to report. The League of Women Voters did a event in New Trier for the high school students, and they passed along the registration for me, so I got those to the county clerk this month, and that was my first time doing it, so super excited about that. So and that's my report.
Oh, and do save the date if you're interested in the League of Women Voters State of the Village dinner on November 10th to hear from all the various local governments, because oftentimes they have this as well. Assessors report, Jan.
Yes, everybody, I handed out third quarter statistic report. Once again, since a deadline happened on the first of a month, it's not a clean 3-month quarter ending September 30th. We included last day, October 1st statistics for appeals for tax bills, and the figures that we get from the county. I mean, we're dependent on when they send them to us, so we don't have all the September statistics we should have. Hopefully at sometime in 2021, or rather in 2022, we will have all 2021 statistics, and more than that, I'm not prepared to state. And the only other thing is, we still have absolutely not word one from the assessor about our appeals to the county, that neither has anybody else in the entire county of.
Wow.
This would come from the assessor's office or from the board of review.
We have not even reached the poor board of review yet. They must be just fried.
Got it.
I mean, this is unprecedented. I've been here 7 years, and I've lived in Cook County most of my life, and I've never heard of this. Never. So it's just, it's a combination of factors. Obviously, the pandemic didn't help at all. The computer upgrade has not gone, let us say that it was supposed to be done at 2018 and it's not finished yet. So I think we could say it hasn't gone as smoothly as it should.
Oh.
And so there have just, and between that and other factors and a real lack of communication from the county assessor's office to the townships about what's going on, about why there's a delay, or even if there is a delay. We're just fielding phone calls, I mean, people go, wait a minute, aren't I supposed to have done something by now? And well, yeah, normally you would have done something by now, but no, and we can't even say that we have a clue about when you will be doing something. And that's just what it is in 2021. End of report.
Thank you.
I'm building operations.
Okay, not a real huge building operations update, as I mentioned at the last meeting. Everything is finished and completed. I think there was a question, either Elliot or Stephanie, I can't remember, just what the total dollars were that we had, and that was, I told that today, $44,525. And that was inclusive of all the different items that were taken care of, the repairs, the electricity.
And insurance continues to be very cooperative and good.
Amazing, totally amazing.
Deductible, Diane?
$500.
Oh my gosh, very good.
I mean, that includes that, yeah.
And that includes when somebody walks through the door.
Yeah.
When that was over.
And they've been very, very supportive, and even as recently as Friday, I've gotten a request to make sure that everything was fine, and so.
And it could be argued that in terms of the newness and the pristineness, that we've actually perhaps better today downstairs than we were before the fire.
I think what benefited was the vault in the basement area.
If you haven't gotten a chance to go look at how much fresher it looks, it's a lot more inviting to volunteers.
Yeah, it is an old building. How old, what is the age of our building?
I want to say 85, 90.
And like any property that age, you're gonna find the effervescence and the moisture related issues, and it's unavoidable. And because we're so tight on both sides, I mean, yeah, it's just very hard to improve those conditions.
And it's an old bank building, which has all other issues like the basement.
And nooks and crannies are very interesting.
Ghosts. No? Don't put that in there.
Yeah. I mean, I remember when I was growing up, it was if you live in Cook County, you got water in your basement. So it's not amazing that there are issues.
Thank you for really tireless effort dealing with all these construction,
Oh my goodness.
all the trades.
We're moving forward.
So I'll leave it to you on the financial report as well.
All right, and I don't have a report for this evening, but I do have an item that you and I had talked about last week. And that item is the levy, and as crazy as it sounds, we're creeping up on that time of the year. As of the end of December, we need to be able to submit that, and that would be for the clerk to do. There has been discussion at the last board meeting, and our legal person was here, and he was talking about the update, should we do that kind of thing. What I decided to do was prepare a document for everyone, and I'm calling it the proposed, it could be the optional levy, but this is a document that we've done in the past years on routine basis, as noted in the overall chapter of all the different percentages that we've had for the levy. And it's just a quick review. What we do is when a levy is submitted in December of the year, that has to be after no later than the 31st. That then goes to the county, then they approve that. We go through its whole process. We go through a draft levy edit and that kind of thing. And then what we end up with is what they call the grand total tax extension. I pulled this information from this year's tax extension, which is based on the current year's levy. And the dollars on the bottom part there on the bottom left-hand side, it's a 2020 tax extension. It's somewhat confusing because really we're looking at 2020. It's going to impact our FY 2023 budget, but that's just the way this is, the way it works. The dollars extended for the town fund was $2,760,909. General assistance was $416,741, given what we call a grand total extension of $3,177,650. The levy percentage or the CPI, or we had talked also, Gail, about looking at other rates if indeed that's the route we want to go. But this year was 1.4, and as you can see, it's kind of gone up and down throughout the years. This is nothing unusual. It'll go up, it'll go down, but we're 1.4%, which generates an overall increase in what we would levy if we decide to go this route of 44,400. What's been done routinely is we will use those dollars for the town fund. If you look over on the right-hand side of the document, the town fund dollars would be 2,805,396, which is adding with the tax extension that was given, plus the $44,000. Historically, general assistance, we go with what the extension was, and we don't increase, and regardless of what happens, we usually get more dollars. Sometimes there have been less dollars. So this is a document to work off of. I wanted to get it out here now so that it could be discussed, because once it's decided what route's going to be taken, there's a 4-page document that has to be prepared and gone to the county, which basically reiterates this, but in different versions. When Gail and I had spoke, we were talking about, do we want to look at the tax rate of not adjustment, that's what the basis for that, the abatement. Do we want to just go forward with this and then look at doing that next year? If someone would ask my recommendation, I think it would probably be best just to, given the incremental amount of dollars that we're looking at, to move forward with some kind of a levy that we usually have and then go from there. I would certainly suggest that we get a hold of Jim Kelly and find out what his recommendation would be. But that's just a brief overview. One other thing I did attach to this document for those who are interested where we get those dollars.
If we go with a 1.4% levy and the total comes out to the 3,173,222, where does that put us in terms of what we should have versus what we do have? Based on the last presentation at the board meeting, where we're dealing with challenges, which obviously go back years, but that's not saying that somebody couldn't do it in the present tense either.
That is for general assistance. It's not for the town fund.
So-
At least this particular case that has been going back from 2011 to 2014.
Those 3 cases or 4 cases were all only the,
So they're only for the general assistance.
but aren't we over on the town fund also?
I don't have a document right now to tell you the exact where we are with that. As I noted at the last meeting, we haven't received any $11 as a response to what was going on with the taxes and the real estate dollars. We're starting to get dollars I saw in the month of September. To answer that question, I would say I would rather wait till I get those.
All right. The reason I ask is because this has come up recently and in the past,
Mhm.
and even last year, I was in favor of a lower levy just because I saw that we have more money than we needed theoretically. And we're back in the same position again. So it might be prudent on our part to, rather than stick to the CPI, to consider doing a levy less than the CPI. So we get our financial house in order and we're in line with where we should be.
Understood. If I recall, I don't have to share it, we ended up with $840,000.
Good.
That's why I would like to say. We got that together.
So we'll decide levy next month or in December.
It has to be done by December.
So we have to do it next month.
Yeah, and I think it'd be something we should probably anticipate even before next month and maybe there could be some kind of discussion or something.
Right, so apparently best practice is to post any draft levy for public review. And we should do that for the next month
Or for no, for December.
or December. So in
Yeah, we
November,
can
come
get
up with
that
our
posted out,
a version to publish.
I mean, if we went with something like that, this, I mean, if that's a posted, this would be what we've usually done. If what Stefan is saying, so we can do that, or we're gonna go zero levy, we can do that. I mean, I think there are different options.
I'm not sure we should do a zero levy necessarily, but because-
1.4 is pretty.
in past years, I remember their conversations that if you zero out, then you have trouble catching back up with yourself. So I don't want to put us in that
It's
position
called a
either.
3-year. look.
Right. So I don't want to put us in that position, but it may be appropriate to adjust the levy downward, given the dollar that we currently have.
Would there be a recommendation? So we could, I mean, when we're looking at this, it would be the 44,000 is the 1.4%.
Right, I understand.
I note that the 44,000 is the smallest levy in the last 5 years, both from a dollar standpoint and from a percentage standpoint, for what it's worth. I mean, 2019, 20, 21, 22 all had greater percentages and bigger dollar numbers, so it's not a lot of money. I mean, but I don't think we've had any exposure on the town fund side with regard to the taxpayer lawsuits. It's strictly on the general assistance side.
And the only thing we can do on that is the abatement, really.
Exactly.
We're doing zero.
Exactly. Mhm.
But sometimes a gesture, like Stephen is recommending, can go a long way in terms of, you know,
We're showing our prudence,
yes.
is what that's called.
We're so far over on, through no fault of anybody, we're so far over on general assistance, and here we're talking about 44,000 at the top. It's crazy. I'm open-minded about both of the options or somewhere in between.
Diane, I have no suggestion per se, because I don't have a context. But, you know, I think that, I could say 1%, but that's just
It's
pulling it out of the air.
It's so incremental.
Right, I understand that too.
And it's.
And part of my thinking is, it is that way, but it's a good faith effort to try and rein in some of the expense, if you will.
If
that-
hypothetically, if we halved it, it went from 1.4% to 0.0, just, you know, half of that, from 44,000 to 22,000, and that's it.
Yeah, well, we're like at point, I'd have to calculate it's 0.8%. Well, 0.7 was our lowest.
Right. Yes, that would be equivalent, that would be like rolling the clock back to 2018.
And
Right.
just for what it's worth, they're projecting next year for the CPI to be much higher,
With inflation, yes.
much higher. So, I mean, they're talking 6% potentially.
Oh, wow.
So we wouldn't want to levy at 6%, obviously, but
No, but you have that room to, not wiggle room, but you have that room to.
Adjust
And I think
accordingly.
that something of that nature would be more noticeable, that's just my opinion. But if you went with the 1%, does that sound better, or 0.8%?
Okay. And given, so, you know, last year's conversation also discussed, you know, that our agencies were gonna have a similar increase in their expenses, that they would theoretically, if they were prudent, ask us for an increase in, especially on,
And that could, yeah,
yeah.
and it would be that way,
salaries.
would be able to.
Yeah. Since that is, you know, the main portion of our
The
budget.
biggest speech.
Um,
And then the is important.
And then the other concern that we've had in the past has been about property tax freezes, which I'm not hearing as much rumblings about. Anyone else as a concern for why to not, you know, drastically slash, but
We haven't written.
Okay. I really haven't either. So.
Pandemic related extensions,
Mhm.
but nothing on the, not freeze discussion.
No, but I mean, that's usually, that's a legislative
Right.
level
Mhm.
discussion and it trickles down to different people different ways. So, I mean, it's something I can certainly check in with the Assessors Association as well, because there are several people who are hooked in
Mhm.
closely to their local state, to their senators and local reps and see if if they're getting any rumblings about anything, but nothing was mentioned at the last Zoom that we had in the overall taxing sense of anything. Just business as usual. We're still trying to sort out everything here and not sort of thinking about what the rest of the state's doing.
So I think what we should do is set maybe 3 options. We have this version, which is following the CPI, a version at 0.7, half of that, and perhaps a version of 0.
Yeah, I could put that together, email that out to everybody. I mean, we're not, the calculation, I mean, what we really needed to determine what's on this right hand side, what are we gonna do? And certainly, what we're talking is going to impact only the town fund, because we're not, we always do the zero, and the zero still creates what it creates, and that's a whole other issue, what we do with the general assistance. So I could do that, and then we could get something there after we look at it, and then, because I'd like to see it moving forward, because all of a sudden.
We can put those 3 options then in the next board packet so that they will be posted for public viewing. This
Or I
one.
can even get that out now. Okay, what are the 3 options that you want?
I'm looking at CPI, so 1.4, 0.7,
Okay.
and 0.
Okay, if it's 0, then we know that the.
Yes, but yeah, but as a third option, yeah,
Okay,
unless someone disagrees with that, open to suggestions.
I think 0 is a bad idea up front.
all right.
So given that, maybe go 1.41 0.07, do it that way and see where, but again, it's really form over substance because incrementally, it's not that much money one way or the other. But I think the bad idea to go to 0. I really do.
I agree, because what happens is then you get that 0, and if something else is gonna happen, then we locked ourselves into
Right.
a situation that we really don't need to go to.
Okay, so then I'm hearing that that's never gonna be something we're gonna consider, so let's not make that the third option.
And we've
I
never done
appreciate
that to my-
those, the options that trustee Moser brought, are agreeable. Yeah, so that's 1.4, 1, and 0.7.
What if we went to 1%? Because we had talked about 1% a couple of years ago, and people say 1%. You know, I don't know what, if how many people know we're looking at 1.41. I think they've noticed it was 6%.
No, for sure.
And they would say, wow, that's a big, this is just my opinion. But if we looked at it, we're only going up with 1%. We could look at that. Why don't I just do the 1.41, the 1.7, but I just think. Or even 0.5 might be, you know, we're just playing with.
Certainly are.
Why don't I just do a little range here? And I'll just think,
Okay, perfect.
okay,
Okay, so now at agenda point 10, new committee members. We have been provided with 2 applications from Karen McCormick and John Nicholas III.
There's 3 in total.
Oh, where am I looking? Oh, sorry, there's Rose Murphy Barnard, you're right.
Yes,
Is there any discussion?
I was once again impressed with the quality of these applications. There's somebody, of course, that's only been in the township for under a year, but she has wonderful experience at this level in Northfield. And she's been a member of the League of Women Voters, and she's actually served at Lynx before, volunteered, which is one of our agencies. So even though she's only been in the township for a year, I thought she was well qualified. I was just very impressed with all 3.
Absolutely. Any other discussion?
John Nichols was at our meeting last week when we were doing the analysis of the questions to go forward. And he seemed like a very personable guy, seemed very involved. He was brought on board by one of the other new members of the committee. And so I had the opportunity to Zoom meet him. I didn't meet him in person, but he seemed like a stand-up kind of guy.
Yes.
Absolutely. Certainly. Your experience. And Rose Murphy Barnard. She come from you, Nicole, junior person. Okay. Either way, I'm always partial to my Nick juniors.
Yes, nursing with the MBA background as well.
Mhm.
And
And I appreciate having a various longevity on our committee as well. So 1 year, 21 years, 10 years. And we do have some more Winnetka, where you tend to be limit heavy. So still encouraging all of our friends in Glencoe and Kenilworth, Northfield and Glenview listening to throw in your applications. All right, any additional discussion? Oh, you might also remember that Karen McCormick used to have office hours at the township when she was in her capacity as Robin Gables shoots, yeah. So she's well versed in township governance.
Do you want a motion?
Yes, so is the motion to approve the nominations?
I move to approve the nominees.
I second Stephanie's motion.
All those in favor, say aye.
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 All opposed? We are approved. We're now going for coast to coast. I am not going to present the contract again this month. I will bring it back up at a future meeting, so I will ask to table that. Any opposition?
I did a little bit of research on.
Oh, would you?
I did.
Okay,
But if we're gonna wait for a month,
I was gonna wait for a month, yes.
perfect.
All right. You can still use your research.
Yes,
I have strong feelings about it as well.
a very strong feeling.
All right, fair enough. New business IMRF resolution. Somehow this got cut off, but it was appointing Gail Eisenberg to replace Alan Goldberg as the agent. We do need a resolution formally doing that. Is there such a motion?
So moved.
Is there a second? Second. All those in favor?
Discussion.
Discussion, sorry.
What are we're having a resolution to rejoin the organization, is that?
We are a member, our current agent is Alan.
Okay,
I saw this question coming.
Yes.
We have the IMRF, and that's for all of our staff people. On that, I'm considered like the agent that posts the things and does all the reconciliations and all that. The supervisor of the township has to be that agent and has to be appointed to that, to be a
Okay.
representative. Throughout the years, it's always the supervisor, since Alan is no longer the supervisor. We have.
gotcha, okay, I just wanted to understand.
There's not even other options. But, you know,
Yeah.
I knew that was coming.
Hold on. Any other discussion? Seeing none, and now call the question. All those in favor?
Aye.
All opposed? Unanimous. We have received staff reports
Can I just put one new business, which is that? There's something.
for discussion, not for action, right?
No, all it is just a reminder of the cleaning people come in on Tuesdays and the weekends. They noticed on several accounts, and then come in later after we, and the gym or whatever, that the room is, or the whole building is locked open. So for those of you who have keys to the building, not everybody does, just be sure if you're the last one out.
Excellent.
And I can take care of doing it, going to do that. Okay? Just for
A
the.
good
record.
reminder.
Thank you.
Okay. We've received staff and contractor reports, which we no longer need to say contractor. We have received staff reports from Brian, Jean, and Julie. Is there any discussion regarding the reports that we received? Or questions, since we have our communications and support services associate here? Are you liking it? On the record. Okay, great.
I think she's doing a great job.
Yeah. Do you want to also state for the record, I appreciate Jack's efforts in the transition. And we all now know a little too much about page administration on Facebook. So, so if you have any questions, ask Julie. But yeah, apparently that is complicated. All right, now we usually have John Thomas make the motion on approval of claims. Seeing as he is absent, is someone else willing to make such a motion?
I will. I move to approve the payroll for September 2021. Starting with check number 7884 through 7900 for a total of $25,237.71 for the period of September 1st, 2021 to September 30th, 2021.
I second Stephanie's motion.
Any discussion? Seeing none, Madam Clerk, please call the roll.
Supervisor Schnitzer Eisenberg,
Yes.
trustee Robbins,
Yes.
trustee Mosier.
Yes.
Trustee Rubin.
Yes.
Approved on a roll call vote.
Is somebody gonna guess?
I'm gonna send one out.
Thank you.
I move to approve the town fund expenditure for the period of September 1st, 2021 through September 30th, 2021. Starting with check number 1034 through check number 1067 with void number 1060 in the amount of $61,859.69.
Second,
Yes.
Alan,
yes,
trustee Rozner,
Yes.
trustee Ruben.
Yes.
I realize now that we dropped off the committee reports in this agenda. Seeing as there's no actions that we need to be taken, I would like to amend the agenda to include the committee reports. Is there a second? All those in favor? Any opposed? Seeing none, committee reports. We will start with trustee Moser.
We had our first meeting a week ago Thursday. I believe we have another one this Thursday night. And we have a very invigorated committee. And we started analyzing the various reports that came in. There was some discussion. It was interesting with some new members. Some people hadn't prepared or given us everything we requested. And so some of the new members were asking whether we should just eliminate their applications. And I stepped in and said, the purpose of these meetings is to make sure that everybody does have what we need in order. And so we're gonna give them that opportunity. So Brian was gonna next morning write out and ask, somebody didn't include budget, somebody else didn't include something else. So but Brian did have an audit from the people that didn't give us a budget. So he was gonna clarify that. And we have another meeting again on Thursday. And we set the hearing dates not in November and a decision date in December. And that's money follows the person, by the way.
Thank you.
Yeah, so it was a good meeting. First, there were liaison reports for the Alliance for Early Childhood, Meals on Wheels, Winnetka Youth Organization, and so forth. New liaison assignments were given. And then we set several meetings, so there'll be 2 review sessions in October. And then we have 3 hearings set for November 3rd, 10th, and 17th.
If I heard hear correctly, there are a few of your agencies that are missing executive directors right now.
Yes, that is correct. That is correct.
Medical family services. And those.
One whole family, and then, let me just look at my notes real quick. Well, there's obviously been a lot going on with the Winnetka Youth Organization, so Brian was trying to figure out exactly what's going on with them, because there's been a lot of transition and there's been a lot of difficulty trying to even get a hold of anybody to talk to them, so I don't know what the latest is, but I'll hear from Brian.
Well, the funding is definitely in jeopardy for women.
Yes, yes.
Yeah, it even came up in our discussion, so
Mhm.
it's obviously out there.
Keep us posted. Elliot?
Uh,
Trustee Rob.
Thank you. Dear jury, we've had 2 months in a row with cases. We're moving forward. We had, I sent out detailed correspondence to all 5 police departments that was approved by Brian. We've heard back from 4 of the 5. We've had meetings with 2 so far. We met with Winnetka on September the 30th, and we met with Glencoe. Not Glencoe, we met Glencoe on October the 7th. And both have expressed interest in trying to find appropriate cases and get them to us. Winnetka, if you recall in the past, in the older days, Superior Jury allowed us to use their village hall for our deliberations and for our project. And now kind of the tables have turned and they have some shortages of rooms and some difficulties. So Supervisor Eisenberg very kindly agreed to open up this room of the township for their 1 month of administrative hearings. They're gonna be doing their administrative hearings here in the morning. I think it's the first Tuesday of each month, I'm not sure. They're very excited about that. That could lead to potential community service on the part of some of their administrative offenders, and we would be in a position to possibly supervise that peer jury, of that community service. I think it also is gonna cement our partnership with Winnetka and can lead to some additional cases as well. One of the issues which we've just kind of torn the bandage off, and we've talked to them about, we feel that we might be in competition with the administrative processes that these villages have to kind of, it's very, when you charge a youthful offender with a violation, there's a possibility to maybe monetize it at the administrative hearing level in a village. So in a sense that they might be looking at an opportunity to capture some revenue during these very difficult times. They may potentially, there may be a conflict in terms of steering those cases to peer jury because there's no fining in peer jury. So that's something we're very sensitive about. We're not afraid to talk to them about it. Winnetka absolutely denied that as an issue. They said some cases are appropriate for administrative fines, others are appropriate for peer jury. We're going to talk about that with Winnetka, where it might be a little bit bigger issue. But we're really basically telling all these 5 police departments that, look, we're back in business after a 17-month hiatus. We're excited. Our jurors are well trained. They're doing a great job on the new cases. There is a punitive aspect to peer jury, but there's also a rehabilitative aspect to it. We talked to the departments about the kind of research papers that we're having offenders write. Could be on the dangers of vaping, could be on, the harms of underage drinking. It could be a research paper on decision making, or brain development, or avoiding, developing strategies for avoiding peer pressure. These are all within the arsenal of rehabilitative measures that our jurors can impose upon the offenders. It's very effective. I read a beautiful research paper on underage drinking that one of our offenders presented. It was just so well done. And the jurors asked these offenders about the experience of doing the research. What did you learn? And they have to summarize that paper and they have to answer questions. So there's really a big rehabilitative aspect of what we do that an administrative process resulting in a fine couldn't possibly even approach. So we have the ears of these different police departments. Like, for example, in Winnetka, with our meeting with Winnetka, we had some young officers there, and they were under the misconception that a lot of paperwork would be involved in the peer jury process. We dispelled that notion. We dusted off their handbook. We had them bring it. We showed them that, look, so we're doing everything we can, but I think that the word is getting out that peer jury is back in business and it's better than ever. They're all aware of the award that Brian won. They think it's great. So I think that our program is going to be strengthened, and it's going to take a few months to really set it flying. Now, on the other front, on the youth advocate front, we lost 2 youth advocates, as you know, and we gained one also. And her name is, she's, it was on my tongue. Jessica Tucker. John Thomas knows her. She's a Winnetka resident. She's an attorney. She's been involved in many good causes. I think she's a noise award winner. We awarded her a township award about 6 or 8 years ago. She's been very involved in local causes, good causes. I think she's going to be a good addition. She showed up for our last peer jury. She shadowed Cole Darcy, who's one of our advocates. I'll have her shadow me. So we're strengthening the core of youth advocates too. And I think we would definitely be open-minded about getting a 4th youth advocate as well. So sorry for the length of it, but things are moving in the right direction.
Ellie, do you have the sense that the different towns around here are in need of additional revenues to be generated through youth fines?
I think that there is, if you just look at tickets, for example, how tickets have the inflation. It used to be $5, $10. You got a parking fine in the village. It's now $50.
Right.
Some are $70. That it's become a chance to, fining residents without too heavy a hand, but fining residents has become a way to raise revenue. So kind of like bank charges. Just one area that they're looking for ways to monetize things in difficult times. And I'm skeptical. So I think, if you can fine a wealthy youth for committing an offense, $500, $1,000, and you've got to weigh that versus sending him to peer jury where there won't be a fine, there won't be any recapture of revenue. I mean, I'm skeptical, so I think it could, make it more difficult, so. But they're denying it so far, they're saying no relationship, but we just, we want to tread very delicately, but, I mean, I think you folks see what's happening over the last several years, that villages are becoming, and municipal entities are becoming much more creative in how they're trying to raise revenue, and, they're looking, they're shaking the sofa cushions, and they're turning the pockets inside out, they're trying to figure out ways to raise revenue.
If the police departments would all start a YouTube channel, they could monetize that.
Look,
There
nothing is-
actually are a couple of police departments that have very
Right.
active social media presence. But anyway, we
Yes.
And again, I'm not,
They're fabulous.
yes, it's important for us it's important for us to consider any potential hurdles to us getting that, that the spigots open and getting the cases that we need to get, because we're gonna do great work for these families where somebody's made some bad decisions. I mean, what the township has to offer these families is, you can't find that anywhere else.
The record had an article about a YouTube challenge regarding theft. Did we get any of those cases?
And that is going on in these high schools now with these kids. Yeah, I think we might.
Sorry to
get a
be-
case. Yeah,
TikTok.
TikTok,
See, I'm still behind on my social media.
Yes, in fact, I think actually our last case, with the theft of a bassoon from New Trail High School, an instrument valued at over $5,000, which was left out on a curb somewhere. I think that very much was related to one of these TikTok challenges. So I didn't know anything about it, but apparently on social media, there are challenges that inspire high school students to do misdeeds, to make foolish decisions. I mean, they were supposed to slap or pinch a teacher's butt. I mean, it's crazy. It's all over the country. I mean, it's a very difficult situation.
It's happening in the colleges too. It happened,
Oh, yes.
it's happening at my son's college, and just videos regarding destroying property, especially bathrooms and at the high schools. That's been a big problem.
I can't conceive of it, but again, it's ultimately, if you participate, you're making some really bad decisions. Maybe it's peer pressure related. I mean, but you've got to get people to change, got to get youth to think about all their actions and, how to defeat peer pressure if that's part of it. I mean, but you're right, Supervisor Eisenberg, it's crazy. It's crazy.
It seems like the perfect example of what a peer jury should be addressing, because it's such a, it's a juvenile crime. It's a crime nonetheless. It's something that, if it had been sent to the juvenile court system, could have serious repercussions for someone.
Yes.
Any comments on committee reports? Seeing none, I will now entertain a motion to adjourn.
So
Is there a second?
Second.
All those in favor, say aye. All opposed? We are adjourned.
Just confirm the next board meeting date.
Of